We survived the Creed Aventus clone uprising. We weathered the BR-540 siege. We even crawled through the trenches of the Angel Share skirmishes. But now, there's a new clone war upon us. Hey friends, Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, some of those fragrances, they just get cloned over and over and over. Every single freaking clone house in the world has to come out with their version. I think we're on the precipice of that happening again. So the original that we're talking about is this, by Killian's Angel Share Paradis. See, it's different. It's a flanker. It's new. Well, it was new. Now there's another new one coming out on the rocks, but we don't need to talk about that. And there have been a few different clones of this fragrance that have come out one right after the other. French Avenue Royal Blend Sequoia, Rehan's Valhalla, and Lattafa's Fire on Ice. And today, we're gonna be taking a look at all of these, the new Lattafa, the new Rehan, and also the French Avenue, comparing them with Angel Share Paradis, and I'll let you know which one is strongest, which one is most versatile, which one is closest, and which one is best. I'll have all of these linked in the description in case you wanna check them out. I bought my bottle of the Lattafa directly from Lattafa. Word to the wise, if you do that, it may take them a while to get it to you. I think it was about 10 days before I got mine. 50 bucks is the cost for that one. Now, of course, actually, by the time this goes live, they could all be available at discounters for lower prices, so be aware of that. But as of when I'm filming, 50 bucks. These two right here, about 45 each. This one is at Beauty House. That's where I got my bottle of this. And this one I picked up from Fragflex. So those are the prices as of right now, basically right in the same ballpark. I mean, really a $5 difference between the two. Since this one is mainly about the Lattafa, I'll go ahead and show you the presentation of that one up close because this is the one that I've gotten in the latest of the bunch. And then we'll get into the nitty gritty of which one of these clones is actually the best if you're looking for something that smells like this right here, but for not as much money, because that's pretty much what clones are always about, isn't it? First, the box. This one's kind of interesting. It's like a plain cardboard box with the name of the fragrance, name of the house, size, and concentration on the front there. 110 mils, so a little bit bigger than usual. I've actually noticed that a little bit. A few different fragrance houses, both in the clone sphere and also the designer sphere, doing 110 mils instead of the usual 100. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm all for that. An extra 10% sounds good to me. You've got Lattafa up top, on the back your ingredients, your caution info, and also your sticker of authenticity. Then on the bottom, you have your badge code and a QR code. And this one opens up by taking this little string and unwinding it from this little spot on the front, and then it just opens up like so, and your bottle sits inside there. So depending on your own taste, you may look at this presentation and find it nice and understated, or you might look at it and think it looks kind of cheap. And here we have the bottle, which I actually think looks hideous. You have on the front the name of the house, Lattafa, you have Fire on Ice. The bottle is a little bit lightweight as far as the glass itself. You have on the cap, Fire on Ice by Lattafa Eau de Parfum Natural Spray. Lattafa on top of the cap as well. It does click into place. And you also have a little like fake ice cube essentially glued to the bottom of the glass on the inside. So again, that may be one of those things where you look at it and you think, oh, that's pretty cool. But on the whole, I'm not a huge fan of the presentation. Not that that really matters that much. Let's go ahead and do a couple sprays. Atomizer is okay. It can feel a little bit janky when you spray it, like just kind of plasticky, I guess is the best way to say it. Let's go ahead and spray all of these out actually. So get that one, the Rehan. That one has the best atomizer of the bunch. Also a magnetic cap, so, and then the Angel Share. That one's probably the second best as far as the atomizer goes. Now I'm fully aware that at some point in the probably not too distant future, there are going to be clones by Armaf, Afnan, everybody else under the sun, Rasasi, I'm sure. But for now, these are the three main players. So first we'll talk really quickly about Angel Share Paradis, how that one opens up, and then compare to these over here. It opens up with really nice syrupy depth. So you have warm cinnamon in there, has kind of like a sparkly, effervescent nature to it, you know, really zingy, lively, and a really sweet raspberry as well. So it has a warm cinnamon, a thick caramel, and then this tart, juicy raspberry in the opening. Fire on Ice also opens up with a really nice raspberry, tart, very poppy, attention-getting, and has more of like an ambroxany kind of woodiness underneath. You're also gonna get that splash of booze in here, which you do get in Angel Share Paradis as well. So it's decently similar to the Killian. That being said, It's not as rich as the Killian, so you're gonna get more depth going on in Angel Share Paradis when you do a side-by-side with these two. And you get that caramel vibe in Fire on Ice also, but it doesn't have that same zing to it, that same kind of attention-grabbing pop that this one has where it almost like jumps off your skin. You don't get that as much with the Lattafa. It sits a little bit closer in the sense of not really having that sparkle. Rayhan Valhalla leans further away from the sweetness. So this one, of all of these actually, is the least sweet off the top. It still has a little bit of that booziness, a little bit of that raspberry, but it leans more woodsy. So it's heavier on the woods with kind of a dry spiciness. It's like Paradis reimagined with less sugar, more spine, because it has more of a push to it. Like this one, pretty heavy right off the rip. This one is projecting like a beast. And even though it does have more of a heaviness to it, it has more of that woodiness, it also comes across fresher off the top than Angel Share Paradis as well. So this one right away is a little bit more like inspired by, but with a twist, more so than being a one-to-one. And of these three, Royal Blend Sequoia is going to open up the closest to Angel Share Paradis. It smells the closest. It's gonna hit you the hardest with that raspberry booze combination, that kind of like zingy, sparkly vibe that Angel Share Paradis. This captures more of that when you first spray it on. But there is one kind of weird aspect with Sequoia, not in that it smells weird, but that it functions strangely. And what that is the raspberry. So it does hit really noticeably. Actually, I think more so in this one than any of these other two. So you get that raspberry in a big way, but it kind of makes you go nose blind to it like that. So you spray it on and within like 5 minutes, you're going, where'd it go? Other people can smell it, and sometimes you'll be moving around and catch a whiff of it, and you'll be like, oh, there it is, and you go back in for another smell, and it's like gone again. So I think you'll probably experience that with this one. I have pretty much every time that I've worn it. So that raspberry, it'll really capture your attention, then it's not there, then it is, then it's not, then it is. And you don't get that with either of these or this one, but you do here. That being said, the closest to smelling like Angel Share Paradis in the opening is Sequoia. This one is the most different, and then Fire on Ice, somewhere in between. Now heading into the mid, Fire on Ice keeps that raspberry, but it does lighten up a good amount, and it goes more into like this caramel forward kind of scent profile. So like caramel sweetness over lightly spiced woods with just remnants of the raspberry from the opening. That's kind of how it goes through the mid. And again, directly side by side with Paradis, it does not have as much of that liveliness to it. So this is less fireworks, more smolder, if that makes sense. The spiciness of Paradis just really, really pops, and this one does not have so much of that. Onto Valhalla, kind of more of the same of the opening with the scent, but it steps even further into its own vibe. So you get some of that rose that comes out, adds some nice texture and depth to the fragrance. And there's also a warm tonka in there, kind of melding together with that woodiness and the bit of spice that's in there also through the mid. It's actually decently elegant, still fresher than these other ones over here, but with great body, great depth. Almost like a woody, lightly rose-tinged liquor twist on Angel Share Paradis. And going back to Sequoia through the mid, it still remains the closest to Angel Share Paradis as far as just a one-to-one. Now, I know I said that the raspberry kind of pops in and out, and that maintains all the way through the fragrance, but as far as how prominent it is, it fades the quickest here. So out of any of these fragrances, really, the raspberry, even though it's really attention-grabbing and right at the forefront when you first spray it on, it steps back quicker here. That being said, even though that does fade away, and for a lot of people that's gonna be like the main sticking point or selling point of Paradis is that raspberry, even though that kind of fades away, it smells awesome in the mid. Warm, sweet, lightly boozy, praline woods, essentially. That's what you're gonna be getting here. So it could remind you, obviously, of the original Angel Share in a lot of ways. It's very smooth, extremely likable, but to be fair, pretty much all of these are. And then the dry down. That's where we get even more separation between these three, and you really figure out what each one is best at or worst at. Valhalla becomes a sweetened oak, you know, a bit of tonka. That rose, it carries over a little bit as well. The dry spice is still there also. It's dense, it's persistent, it gets you noticed. It is definitely the strongest of the bunch. So even though this one has more of a fresh lean to it, it doesn't go as heavy into the sweet side of things. You know, it's got that more of a woody forward take on Paradis. It's the strongest easily of these three, and actually off my skin outperforms Paradis as well. Valhalla packs a punch. I forgot to mention this earlier, but the reason this says Rayhan X Legion is it's a collaboration with Oda Ragnar, who's on, I believe, TikTok and Instagram as well. Fire on Ice in the dry down, again, doesn't lean as much on that like sparkly, fruity, sweet pop as you hit the dry down, definitely when compared to Paradis. Instead, it leans a little bit more on resinous warmth and some woods as well. It does smell flatter when you smell it side by side with Paradis, but it still smells very appealing, really easy to wear. Less zing, more calm, with a nice residual caramel sweetness. Sequoia into the dry down still is the closest to Paradis. You occasionally will get that kind of high tinged raspberry that will like peek out for a second and then disappear again. So of these three, as far as which one is the closest to being a 1-to-1 with Angel Share Paradis, it's this one. Sequoia smells the closest if you're just doing a side-by-side comparison and you're not really thinking about anything else. That being said, Sequoia is also, of all these, off my skin, the weakest of the bunch. It's not that this one is really weak, it's just that Valhalla is a monster, Paradis is a monster, and then Fire on Ice is very strong as well. So when you're going up against those, you know, it sticks out a little bit. So with Sequoia, you have something that's very similar. The raspberry may fade a little bit quicker, may make you go nose blind, and then we'll do that kind of disappearing trick and come back and disappear and come back and disappear and come back, which can be kind of annoying for sure. But yeah, as far as just straight up performance, if that's all you care about, this one is the weakest of the bunch. This one is the strongest. Then this one is in second, third, fourth. As far as versatility goes, obviously, you pretty much wear on the same times. Fall and winter lean a little bit more toward nighttime use, but you could pull it off during the day. I will say, as far as versatility goes, Valhalla is probably the most versatile because of that little fresh aspect that it has in comparison to these off the top and in the mid. So you could probably push this one to like spring evenings, stuff like that. As far as price goes, these three, I mean, who cares? You know, $5 difference, it's pretty much the same. As of right now, $45, $45.50. My best guess is that in the future, the Lattafa will probably be the cheapest, just guessing off of generally how these are priced. And then these two will probably be pretty similar as far as pricing goes. Again, talking, you know, however many months down the line. But as of right this minute, pricing, who cares? Pretty much the same. So the closest one to Paradis, that's Sequoia. The weakest performance, that's Sequoia. The strongest performance, that's Valhalla. The one that's the least similar to Paradis, that's Valhalla. Not that it smells bad, it's just with a twist, right? So not exactly the same, but in the same style, which makes Lattafa here kind of the balanced option. It's not the closest to Paradis, it's not the strongest. It kind of falls in between. And that's really what this one is. It's kind of like an all-rounder. It's maybe not the best at any particular thing, but it does all the things pretty well. It's maybe a little more caramel heavy than Paradis. It has less of that sparkle, less of that like very zingy, lively, you know, brisk, almost opening that carries through like an effervescent, you know, soda kind of sweetness almost Paradis has. This one really doesn't. Like I said, it's flatter to the skin, has more of that caramel sweetness, like I've said a few times, with warm spice kind of working throughout. So it's not gonna give you the exact same thing, but it could scratch that itch. And if you're somebody who demands like the highest performance, this is gonna give you a little more than that. But if you want the one that's gonna capture more of that lively, sweet, you know, top end kind of vibe that Paradis has, Sequoia has that. If you're looking for more versatility, more power, Paradis with a twist, a little woodier, then go Valhalla. That stuff slaps. So in the first salvo of the Angel Share Paradis Wars, that's how things are shaping up. So which one is best? Well, really it depends on what you're after, and that's pretty much how it always goes. Do you want accuracy? Do you want power? Or do you want something that tries to do a little bit of both? I wanna thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.